Hi, I'm Mike with House on the Mend, and this is part 3 of our ongoing series where we're rehabbing this rental property in Bullhead City, Arizona. And in this video, we're going to be focusing on painting the exterior of this property with this, the TackLife Airless Sprayer. Now, I only saw a couple reviews on Amazon, and I couldn't find a single video on this particular TackLife product on YouTube. So I decided to buy it with my own money. I am not sponsored. It's currently $189 with a $10 coupon. And this is a comparable device when you look at the statistics and the specs to the Graco Magnum X5 sprayer, which is currently around $330. So $140 less expensive for the TackLife. So if you're interested in how it performs and if it's worth the money, that's what we're going to find out.
If you break it, he will fix it. If you buy it, he will build it. House on the Mend.
All right, so this is the TackLife Airless Sprayer. Let's open up the box here and see what we got inside. Looks like the spray gun nozzle. The unit itself, and that's it. Let's see what's in the bag. Whoa, Nelly. All right, so the front here is very simple, just a little sticker. And if we look right here, this little blue tip is just protecting where the hose will connect to, protecting the threads from that outlet. If we look on this side, we have a on-off switch that is covered with a little clear rubber seal on it. The pressure control starts at roll, so you can turn the pressure down enough to use a roller, which is real nice. Then you've got the priming pressure, low spray, and then all the way up to high spray. On the other side, you have the pressure valve here. You have, if it's pointing out towards the hose, it is in spray mode. Down, which is down traditionally towards the paint can in taller units, that is prime mode. If we look on the back here, coming out the back, not down, but out the back are the prime and the feeder hose. Very long because it's intended to come up and then go into a 5-gallon bucket. It does have a screen on the end of the hose. It's not threaded like I've seen in some units. Instead, it's got a little pressure fitting here that you can slip out of the way and then you can remove it. Now, something that is not mentioned in any part of the manual is this little cup. And this isn't for drinking coffee while it's being primed. The only thing I could think of that it's for is there's a little hole right here on the frame that corresponds with this hole. And then it came with this Allen wrench and this little screw. So I'm thinking, even though it's not mentioned anywhere, that this is meant to be attached right here. And then it gives you a spot to set the screen and the hose into so that it's not resting on the ground and getting dirty. About a 6-foot cord, so obviously you're going to need an extension cord. Pretty decent feeling hose. It's got little spring assemblies around both ends to keep it from kinking. Nice weighted, feels pretty good. It'll be interesting to see if it gets a little bit more supple and flexible when it warms up, because it's very tightly bound. It feels just coming out of the package. But what do you expect from that? So for the spray nozzle itself, it comes with a filter, a brush to clean it out with, and a little rubber grommet. It'll be interesting to see if that's a replacement filter or if that's the only one it comes with and we've got to put one in here. Now the nozzle does detach for cleaning the filter, but interestingly the manual said to disconnect this little guy down here, which was nearly impossible. It took 2 wrenches and all my inertia to try to get these two separated from each other. And in fact, that is incorrect. That is not where you access the filter. Instead, you need to take this little guy off and then just start unscrewing it from up here. And then you have the access to the filter right there. So the one that came in the bag is actually a spare, which is kind of nice. It's got a nice rubber handle right here. It almost looked like it was knurled aluminum, but it's not. It is rubber. And then once you get that pretty tight into place, right here, there is a notch out for a wrench to give it its final tightening. So the manual says that in the manufacturing process and the shipping process, there is oil inside of the pump. And they recommend that that gets flushed out first with hot soapy water. So you have 2 different lines, as we've talked about. You have the intake line here and then this little purge line here. So I'm going to separate those real quick. Put one just right down here into the sink. Put the other one right into this hot soapy water. It's just dish soap and hot water. And then we want to turn the dial downward to prime. We want to turn the power, which there's a little arrow right here, down from high to prime. All right, let's plug it in. This will get us a good feel for the sound of this guy too. All right, we ready? Right here. Absolutely nothing is happening. So I don't see a crimp in our line. Inlet release. Push to free pump. Let's try again. There it goes. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's not supposed to happen. It's in prime mode. That's spray mode. All right, let's tighten the hose down on the front here. Since I can't trust it not to come out here when it's in prime mode right now, let's try again. These are compression fittings, so I am not putting thread tape on in the beginning. If I do get leaks out of these sections, I will switch over to putting thread tape on first, and we'll talk about if that works. Alright, let's give it another try. This thing is really loud, by the way. All right, let's switch over to rinse water, and we'll rinse all that soap out of there. A lot of vibration there. All right, good. So we've cleaned out the motor. Now it is time to get ready for painting. So I'm going to take it outside, get it set up in a good spot, get some cardboard or drop cloth or something underneath everything, and we'll get ready to prime the paint. Prior to painting, there's a tremendous amount of prep work involved with getting a house ready to be painted, to include scraping, taping, plastic, and a bunch of other things. I have a video montage coming up next of all the things I did to get this house ready for paint. If you're following along with the overall rehab series of this house, you may be interested in watching that. Now, if you're not, however, I understand, and if you just want to jump right to priming this sprayer and painting our first wall, then you can fast forward right to the time you see at the bottom of the screen. So any small areas where we have some stucco damage, like you see here near the sliding glass door, I'm just going to mix up some stucco patch and take care of those spots prior to painting. And while I'm at it with the stucco patch, any of these holes here from screws and anchor points and things that have been installed previously will get filled up as well. There's three really old, worn out carriage lights, two on either side of the garage door, and then this one by the side garage door entrance. Those are all going to be removed ahead of painting. And of course we can't forget these lights I showed you under the eaves in the backyard. That all needs to come out. And anywhere along the house where the weeds are, obviously all have to be taken out and cleaned up before we can paint. So most stucco houses have a drip edge down at the bottom that separates the actual stucco wall from the foundation and the ground. This house was built in the late 1980s and does not have that drip edge. The stucco goes all the way down below the landscaping dirt line. So I went around with a pickaxe and a rock rake and I trenched out all the perimeter of the house, and that's going to allow me to paint as much of the wall as possible in case the landscaping ever changes in the future. You won't have some two-tone color that needs to be addressed at the bottom. After that, I power wash the entire house with my Ryobi pressure washer, and then every spot where I put stucco patch or a tube of caulk that deals with cracks, small cracks in the stucco, I covered those up with a Kills primer that specifically says on it that it can handle masonry and stucco. Now that all that's done, there's a few little things left, and we're going to get to painting the stucco. This piece of fascia here is pretty rotted, so that needs to be replaced. All right. This piece of 2x4 underneath is in really bad shape too, so yeah, we're gonna have to fix that. So the garage door itself, unlike most doors that are thin aluminum, this door actually happens to be panels of solid wood, so might even be the original door. But nonetheless, we have cracking, peeling paint on here, so rather than just taking a sander to it and to prep it, I want to first start by grabbing a scraper, which is a nice tool you can get both hands on. Sometimes they even come with a little ball here you can hold on to, but all the magic is done with this blade up here. And what you do is you set it down and you just literally start scraping the loose paint away. So I'm going to do that to this door. And instead of getting down on my knees when it comes time to do the bottom of the door, since I have a garage door opener, I'm just going to raise it right up to a nice comfortable level for me to work, and then I'll hit the remote again and stop it right there. So that way I can be standing and in a nice comfortable position to scrape all that paint. So when it comes time for painting, we're going to need warm water and soap to clean up every day. So this was a perfect time to change out the water heater. And what a good decision it was, because down towards the bottom it was so corroded that the drain valve wouldn't drain any water. And I was puzzled by it, but eventually what I had to do was tip the thing over and start draining it from the inlet valves for the hose going out to the street. So while this heavy thing gets lighter, we're gonna set our sights on switching it with this guy right here. All right, so I took a drill with a mixing bit and mixed up the paint really good. And now we are ready to prime the sprayer with the paint. So we're going to put the inlet valve right into this paint. This is an elastomeric stucco paint. Elastomeric is specifically designed for stucco and masonry, so it's perfect. All right, we're set downward to prime. We are going to prime the remaining water out of the unit and into this bucket of water. And once that is fully paint and no water coming out, then we'll turn it off and we'll put that back into here, and then we'll let it prime itself with paint coming completely through the system. All right, that did not take long. Let's put this guy right in there as well. And now we can just prime for like a minute or so and really circulate that paint through the system, and then we'll prime the hose. All right, that should be good. So now I'm going to switch to spray, and we're going to start feeding that paint through the hose. Now, if you remember from when we flushed everything, there's still water in this line. So I'm just gonna take the sprayer and I'm gonna keep it right here, turn the pump on. All right, so now it's pressurized the whole system. So I've got it down to the lowest level here, and I just want it to kind of ooze that water out, but it is very, very pressurized. Hi, you ready to paint? So I'm just flushing that water out of there. I'm already seeing paint. All right, that is all paint. Okay. Now we can, let's turn it off to be safe, and we can connect our nozzle. All right, let's reposition the camera, and we are going to be ready to test out this sprayer. All right, we're ready. I want to start by giving a spray at 12 inches away, which is what the manual recommends. And I'm in the middle between low pressure sprayer and high pressure sprayer. So let's just kind of see if that's a good spot. We can increase or decrease from there. The kit comes with a 517 tip. There's also like a 1.5 and there's other numbers in there, but that's what this one comes with. So we're gonna test that one out and see how well it works. All right, 12 inches away. We don't want to go out and in. We want to keep at 12 inches and stay as steady as possible. So let's see what we get. All right, so I am turned the wrong way for that. Let me just twist this guy this way. You can see that was a line going that way, meant for going up and down. So now I've turned it like this, and let's see. Okay, real quick, let's take a look at what kind of spread we get at that 12 inches away. Paint starts right there. It's about 16 inch. Yeah, about a 16-inch spread with this nozzle at 12 inches away, just so for a point of reference. All right, now I have taken off my watch. I've got some older sunglasses on, and I'm gonna put on a respirator, and let's do this patch of the wall right here and just get a sense for the sound of the unit, how well it sprays and all that. All right, well that went really quick, was real easy. The coverage looks really good and smooth other than this one spot where I started right here and had the nozzle twisted the wrong way, and it's kind of gummy here, so I'm gonna feather that out real quick. And the pump is very similar to what I'm used to with other airless sprayers. It is kind of loud, so I think I'll put some headphones in and get some music going. I tried getting a little bit close with just the sprayer up here, and I see a little bit of overspray on the eave, so I am going to get a flat edge for painting and stick that up there before I get any closer to any of these other areas. So let me take care of this goopy spot here and then grab that flat edge, and we'll get going some more with the time lapse. So look at this. I had just swept this whole sunroom before we started painting, so the tape and things that I did around the flooring would adhere better. And after spraying, look at all of this like paint dust that is all over. You can see right there where I had paper and tape wrapped around these pillars, the stark line there between the concrete and the dust. So that's a tremendous amount of like paint dust coming out of this sprayer. It might just be this elastomeric paint, or it might be all paints that aren't adhering right to the surface. So Man, I really recommend a respirator because this is nasty. That is strangely satisfying. All right, so we finished spraying the exterior of the entire house, and I've gotten a pretty good feel for how this sprayer works. So I wanted to give you kind of a midpoint review. Number one, this spray tip seems to get clogged quite a bit, and not inside where you can just turn it and spray out the clog so much as the paint starts drying on the exterior of the nozzle, and you got to kind of peel that away. And if you don't, I've found that it starts causing two little spray lines, like focused paint in your spread, and then it kind of diminishes the central area. So you'll get a line going here, a line going here, and a diminished amount of paint in between those. And I've been able to remedy that by pulling that drying kind of almost like rooster head of drying paint on there. So that might just be this elastomeric stucco paint. We'll find out when we get to doing the doors next. Also, I will say it's really important, I have found, to clean out this filter that goes inside the handle after pretty much every use. I've found some sort of little tiny pebble-like debris. I'm not sure if that's the paint or what exactly that is, but this filter is doing a good job of keeping that out of the nozzle, but it does require it to be cleaned up after every use. So one other thing I'm noticing is this soot or burn or dust. I'm not sure exactly what that is. It doesn't really have much of a smell on it. Maybe it's oil, but whatever it is, it's charred around the exhaust fan here. All right, that's it for today. We made really good progress on the back side of the house, including this sunroom. So now it's time to clean up. So what we want to do is take the main line that's the inlet, which is the bigger one. We want to bring that out of the paint, separate the two. Ugh, that's nasty. That's why I like to use gloves when I do this, because this paint is really thick. All right. So into the hot soapy water goes the inlet, and we're going to circulate all the paint right out of the pump itself. So we got to keep a good eye on this outlet line. Let's turn it down. Keep an eye there. That's starting to come out with water. So at that point now we can join these two back together and just go into circulating the hot soapy water in and out of this bucket. So let's do that. All right, I edited that down so you didn't have to sit and listen to this thing go the entire time. It's pretty loud. I let that circulate for at least a minute or so to really try to get all the paint that we can out of there. Now, I'm going to take these two out and slip them in a little temporary coffee can while I go get fresh water, and I want to circulate fresh water through the pump, and then ultimately after we do that, we're going to push the paint out through the hose with fresh water, and we'll push that paint back into this bucket. And at that point, we're done for the day. We're going to let it sit in that fresh water, both in the hose and in the lines, since we're going to come right back tomorrow and get to painting. If we were going to transition over to long-term storage, then I would definitely use a product like Graco's Pump Armor, which is really good, to circulate through both the pump, and then I also like to run it through the line, and it just protects everything. So when you come back, say a week, a month, a year later, everything inside internally has been protected by pump armor. Really works great. Now, while I'm here with the hot soapy water, I am going to take the nozzle off, clean the nozzle and the tip most notably, to get all the gross paint that's starting to dry in there out. Before we switch over to clean water, since we've got hot soapy water here, I did want to also say that we should get down here and wash off the filter and all these little fittings down here. I'm not so concerned about this area up here. That's really hard to keep clean because it's actually outside of the bucket and this paint dries, but you could take a scrub brush to that if you wanted to. It doesn't affect the functionality, but you do want this filter to be nice and clean like you see here and not have patches of paint stuck in there. All right, so the paint I chose is a very similar color, and that way it's subtle enough that I can tell when I've put it on, but not so much that I have to worry about every single little detail getting covered with a brush that'll get into tight corners and things. So I replaced the inner 2x4 with this piece of pressure treated lumber, and you could tell it's the pressure treated lumber because of all the little hash marks in it that are used to puncture the wood to inject the fluids in it that help to sustain it longer. And I painted it the same color as the trim so that you'd never know it was there. And then I went to the store and I got this piece of fascia. It was about 3 or 4 inches wider, so I cut it down and painted it as well. And then so you don't see screw holes, I'm actually going to attach it with nails that can be painted over. I'm going to slide that under this piece of metal trim. Get that, oh, there we go. Right level with this piece of fascia, just like that. All right, now I'm going to take a couple more nails and I'm going to reattach this piece of fascia to the inner 2x4 that we replaced. And this will be all done except for touching up the nails with paint. So I cleaned this door with TSP really good, and then I sanded the frame around it and cleaned that as well. And if you recall, when we replaced this door, it is so heavy that instead of taking it off the hinges and setting it somewhere to spray it with the airless sprayer, I'm just gonna roll some paint on it in place. So I've taped off the window, and this will be a lot quicker and easier than taking it off and having to muscle it back on and all that. So we've completed the entire exterior of the house with this paint sprayer, and it has done a great job. Now, I want to give you my midway thoughts because I think I'm going to use it again when we move into the interior of the house. But our midway observations, I want to say that I didn't experience any leaks, not here where the handle and the filter are kept, not with the hose either at the handle or down here. So that is great. Remember, I had talked about whether or not we would need thread tape. You don't. These compression fittings are fantastic. Let's talk about the paints. So this typical exterior paint that I used for the garage door was fantastic. It was a pleasure to spray, and it was something I wasn't used to because before I had sprayed the garage door, I had been spraying the entire exterior of the house with this elastomeric paint. Now this stuff is admittedly really thick and stretchy. This peeled off of the little guard here, and it's just one big strip of very strong plastic. So the fact that this paint sprayer struggled a little with this type of stucco paint really doesn't surprise me. I will say it handled it. It did this entire house. It just had a problem keeping up the pressure. So as I would go with long strokes down the wall, I did notice the pressure would fall off a little and I'd have to release and wait for it to build back up. I did not experience that even once with the thinner, typical exterior paint. So that's just something to keep in mind. It handled it fine. If there's another type of paint sprayer that has more PSI than this one, and it's really important that you are using only elastomeric paint, maybe give that other one a try. But for typical paints, you're not going to have any worries. It's going to be a little bit before I get to painting on the interior of the house. I'm going to be doing some prep work on the walls, washing everything down, and just really seeing what we have to work with. So in the meantime, I did take some Graco pump armor, which I love. It works great. And I cycled that through the motor itself, the pump itself, and then all the way through the hose, and I have everything shut off to keep that pump armor inside. That will keep everything lubricated until the next time I break out this paint sprayer. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them down below. I'm going to leave affiliate links to everything that I used here. Now, full disclosure, these are affiliate links, so if you click on them and end up making a purchase, it won't cost you a thing, but I do get a small reward at the end of the month. It helps to justify the time and expense it takes to make these videos. Until next time, thank you for watching.